Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to all participants. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Rahana Jamal as your moderator for today. Before that, I would like to check if you guys can see and hear me well. We will begin our programs in 10 minutes, and before that, I would like to go over a few housekeeping notes to keep our today's event run smoothly. First, all participants may send in your questions in the comment section during the presentation. And don't worry, we will collect and address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. And I would like to seek cooperation from you guys to give your full attention and best interest to our speakers. Thank you. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to all participants. Welcome to our webinar, Microbes Outside the Microscopes. My name is Raihana Jamal and I am your moderator for today. As usual, before we officially begin the webinar, I would like to invite Alif Aiman to lead the Du'a's recitation.
الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Ya Allah, we express our gratitude to you for allowing us to organize and attend the webinar of Microbes Outside the Microscope on this auspicious morning. Ya Allah, we ask you for the safety of our religion and the welfare of our body. Make the days that we have gone through, starting with your mercy, continue with your blessing, and end it with high forgiveness. May the days that we have gone through with guidance, and end it with the victory of excellence. Ya Allah, Ya Zal Jalali wal Ikram, let us our effort as a mean to enlighten and convince ourselves that the personal safety of either outer and inner is prerequisite for achieving happiness and excellence in various fields. For Allah, grant us faith and strength in order to face challenges of life during the transition period and in the face life in this new millennium. Ya Allah, Ya Zal Jalal wal Ikram, show us your guidance and adjust our path and way to achieve happiness and glory. Let us listen to people who like good things. Let us avoid the bad and evil things. O Allah, bless our life in this meeting and gathering. Prevent us from harm and unfortunate events. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amin Amin Ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you Alif Aiman for the Du'a's recitation. A little bit intro for those of you who do not know what kind of our webinar or what topics we will be talking about today. Microbes Outside the Microscope is a career talk that will help biology students, especially from microbiology course, to find out which career path that you want to pursue after finishing the study. Before we start with our main agenda, allow me to introduce to our speaker for today, Dr. Getha Krishnasamy. Welcome, Doctor. Dr. Getha is a Senior Research Officer at Forest Research Institute Malaysia FRIM, PhD holder in microbial biotechnology from University Malaya and specialized in microbial conservation and utilization. She had splendid achievements that I could go on and on explaining to you for the rest of the days. We are talking about how she managed to become the head of Biomolecules Research Laboratory at FRIM, obtained numerous of research awards and became journal manuscript reviewers at both national and international level. She is also active in joining more than 20 external committees, lead almost 30 major research projects, as well as publish countless of books, articles, proceedings, and many more. Now, I would like to welcome Dr. Getha to share her insights on career pathway, especially in agricultural sector.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, doctor. Very well.
I'm not sure. I can't hear any voice.
Oh, a
I
moment, yeah,
can't
doctor.
hear the moderator's voice. Raihana, I can't hear you. But can everyone hear me?
Yeah, doctor. We can hear you.
So I really cannot hear you, Raihana, but just maybe in the chat, can you just tell me whether you can hear me? Okay, so I'm not hearing the moderator's voice, so I'm not sure how can we just proceed. Probably you have to type questions, because I can't hear your voice. Right. Maybe we can start with the presentation. As long as you can hear me, I think that will be fine. Okay. Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Raihana. So first, I would like to wish everyone a very good morning to the team, the organizing team, Microbes Outside the Microscope, and also to all the aspiring students who are here with me today to listen to the talk. First, before that, I also would like to thank the organizing committee for extending this invitation to me today. So the title of my talk this morning is Microbiology in Agriculture. I'm Getha. I'm from the Natural Products Division at Forest Research Institute Malaysia, or FRIM. FRIM is a research institute under the Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources, or CATSA. Next slide, please. Okay. So this is going to be very challenging. I was about to ask you questions and hoping to hear what you will answer. The question is, why choose to study microbiology? But I can't hear you, Raihana. I actually wanted to ask you this question. So probably you can type there. It's a simple question. Why? Because I understand that the students here are all doing microbiology, right? They're majoring in microbiology and also focusing in agricultural, or let it be in either any field related to microbiology, right? So why would you want to choose microbiology, or is it because you just happen, it's sort of like given this choice was chosen by the university? I see your answer. Yeah, it's peaceful. You said that because you love working in the lab environment. It's peaceful. Oh, that's wonderful, because then you are in the right field, because looking at microbes actually give me some peace. Working life is very challenging. So as you go higher in in your working career, you kind of get lost, or rather you don't get hands-on with lab work so much, because the juniors will actually do much of the lab work. So I personally run away from my office into my lab in between stress period, just to get away from the stress and look at the microbes, because they are simply wonderful, actually. So with that, next slide, please. So here I would just like to give you a background. I'm sure all of you know microorganisms are in every part of our life, daily life. So if you say that I am in microbiology, but I'm not sure why I am in microbiology, why I'm studying microorganisms, well, here is your answers. Microorganisms, you face them in all part of your daily life. I'm sure you know your normal flora. Human body contains trillions of microorganisms, and they play a very important role in our health. It is said that there are about 300 to 500 bacteria species living in our gut, yeah? And it comprises nearly of 2 million genes. That's a lot of genes. In fact, the number of bacteria in the gut alone is about 10 times of all the cells in our body. This is what researchers, scientists have reported. And the collective bacterial genome, or also known as microbiome, it is said to be greater than the human genome size itself. So can you imagine? something that is so microscopic plays a very important role in our life. And not only in our body, they are found practically everywhere, in soil, water, in various environments, even in desert where the temperature is so hot, you can actually find them. Now, coming to plants, microbes and plants, the interaction between microbes and plants have been always there, and I'm sure you have heard about, if you are in the microbiology field, I'm sure you have heard of rhizobium bacteria. These are bacteria which are good bacteria, which forms root nodules on legume plants, and it helps these plants to fix atmospheric nitrogen, and it passes on to the plant, allowing the plants to grow well even if the soil has low nitrogen. So it helps in soil fertility. So therefore, microorganisms and plants have a very close relationship. Next slide, please. So this brings to the topic of my talk today, which is microbiology in agriculture. So I just put there good microbes, bad microbes. So I'm sure you know what it means. Bad microbes, the ones that causes diseases. So there is, the field of microbiology where it looked into the pathogens, plant pathogens, versus good microbes. And there are good microbes out there in the soil and everywhere. These microbes are helping to protect plants from all these disease-causing microbes. So therefore, we have both the good and the bad microbes when we talk about microbiology in agriculture. Next slide, please. So, as I said, the plant pathogens, these are the ones that causes diseases. So how can microbiologists help in this part of agricultural microbiology? So plant pathogens, be it bacteria, fungi, insects, all kinds of pathogens, they can cause serious diseases in crops and threaten crop yields. So this can cause economic losses, major or significant losses due to reduction in crop yield. So it's very important to have effective detection systems for all these pathogens. It has to be a very fast method to know what is there, what is causing diseases, and quickly identify these pathogens. So microbiologists play a very important role here to come up with rapid detection systems involving molecular markers. These are all the technology has been developed, and it's going on various kinds of detection methods. So microbiologists have a role here. Why do they need to do all these things? Early detection or quickly identify pathogens. All these are to help farmers, farm and plantation owners to take fast action on disease mitigation. So it is a lot of work. If the plantation owners wait until the disease destroy the whole plant, then it's too late. So microbiologists are always on the guard. They need to know at a very early stage detection and then come up with mitigation so that farmers don't go through or experience massive losses. So this is one of those roles that microbiologists play in all these plantations, farm owners. They need the role. They need microbiologists to help in this. Next slide, please. So these are some of the examples that I just put some pictures here. I'm sure you've heard about the basal stem rot disease in oil palm, which is caused by a fungus, Ganoderma boninense. This fungus causes the disease. It causes significant threat to oil palm industry, and it can cause significant economic losses. Next slide, please. And also in rice, there is also fungal disease, Magnapote oryzae, which causes rice blast. It causes severe reduction in rice yield, and farmers have to go through major economic losses. Next slide, please. Here, this is something that I worked in my PhD those back in a long time ago. So the disease in banana caused by a fungus, Fusarium oxysporum. It causes a disease known as Fusarium wilt. Now, this is another, it can cause severe outbreaks. If farmers don't detect, don't get to it fast, it can actually, hit the whole the outbreak is really massive and can cause economic losses globally in banana industry. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so now that you know all these diseases and, the microbiologies, how they are supposed to, help. Now, these are the bad microbes, which I mentioned earlier, which causes diseases. Now, let's look at the good microbes. Microorganisms, as I told you, it's all over. In soil, you can actually find all kinds of microorganisms. And they actually play a very important role in plant disease protection. Now, I just pointed out three main mechanisms, but actually there are many, many different mechanisms how microorganisms can help in plant disease protection. Firstly, there are many microorganisms in our soil which produces agri-chemicals. It's just like us eating antibiotics, to kill the pathogens like COVID-19, we have vaccines, or if you have a bacterial infection, we take antibiotics. The same thing. There are microorganisms which produce so-called antibiotics for fighting against these plant pathogens. So that is one mechanism that microorganisms do. Secondly, there are many microorganisms which are known as biological control agents. So they control the pathogens in a biological way. I will explain or show some examples later on. There are also microorganisms, they play a very important role by producing plant growth hormones. So these are a few that I have pointed out because I think time doesn't permit me to go into details. You are studying microbiology, so I'm sure you are very well aware about all these things. So a microbiologist, if you are working in these fields, in agricultural fields, these kind of studies involve a lot of field trials, field plots, looking at treatment, mitigation methods, treatment for plant disease or protecting the plant disease. So that's lots and lots of data collection. So can you imagine? I hope that you get some rough ideas. Microbiologists, how they do work. It's not only lab-based, but it's also field work. Lots of field work there. If you are into active, agricultural part of the microbiology to help in agriculture. Next slide, please. So this is one example, as I mentioned, microbes which produce antibacterial, antifungal or fungicides. So these are the two group. Streptomyces, it's a group of bacteria. Have you heard about streptomyces? I'm not sure whether you know there is a bacteria, filamentous bacteria, which you can actually find in soil. In fact, in my lab, we do a lot of work on streptomyces. We go to the field, collect soil, isolate them, and look at their potentials, many potentials. So these streptomyces produce certain chemicals, and these chemicals can kill or inhibit the growth of the fungus which is causing rice blast disease. Again, I also want to mention here one example, streptomyces, for those who may not know or have not come across this group of bacteria, streptomyces. Have you ever experienced, after a very heavy downpour rain, you go into your garden and you smell this very earthy smell, bau tanah, Have you ever come across? After rain, you will always have this bau tanah, and it's like very happy feeling, it's nice smell and very earthy, soil smell. Now, this smell is actually caused or produced by the group of bacteria that I'm talking of, streptomyces, because they are in soil. There's so much of them, different species, and they produce a certain kind of chemical known as geosmins. And when the rain hits the soil gets turned, and this chemical geosmin, it's released, and you can actually smell. That is the smell that actually comes after a rainfall in your garden. So maybe that makes you, that makes you to recognize, streptomyces next time when you do smell, so you will remember. So this is another example. Sorry, next slide, please. So this is another example of the role of microorganism. Sorry, the previous slide. Yeah, biological control agents. So microorganisms also produce certain fungal cell wall breaking enzymes, and they also do certain things like physical interaction to destroy the pathogens. Here I'm showing some example. The biocontrol agent is a fungus known as Trichoderma hertzianum. What it is doing, it is coiling the hyphae of the fungal, which is a biocontrol agent. It's coiling around the pathogen, which is B, marked as B, botrytis cinerea, and it penetrates into its hyphae. 48 hours after contact, what you see is the pathogen collapse. Pathogen cell walls collapse, the hyphae collapse, and therefore it leads to death of the pathogen. So this is another way, microorganisms can help as a biocontrol agent. They have many, many other ways to carry out its role as a biological control agent. I'm just giving examples. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, here I did mention there are also microbes, the good microbes, which produce plant hormones. Here, I'm just showing an example of research carried out in Japan, where the researchers looked at various plants, soybean, cucumber, broccoli. What they did is they treat roots, they compared roots treated with water and roots treated with bacteria. Again, the bacteria here is a streptomyces. And when they grow the plant and they look at the roots, they notice that plants where the roots were treated with streptomyces bacteria significantly promoted growth of lateral roots. So what does this do? It plays an important role. It increases plant growth, yield. So it's just like us eating vitamins. We are stronger, so we can fight against infection. So the same thing. So the good microbes give some kind of immunity, makes the plant stronger so they can withstand infection from pathogens. So this is some examples that I just pointed out. So having said all these things, there are so many more aspects to microbiology in agriculture, which I'm not covering, like livestock, microorganisms which control diseases in livestock, poultry, or microorganisms which control diseases to kill weeds, herbicides. So there's so much more in agriculture that you actually can use microbes as a tool, to control diseases. Next slide, please. So therefore, there are many commercial products using these good microbes to come up with, biocontrol agents. There you can see the bottle, it's written there, Trichoderma. So researchers have done a lot of study and came up with products to help farmers, to control diseases in plants. So you have Trichoderma biocontrol agent, Pseudomonas, which is a bacteria. These are also biocontrol agents. And there's a lot of microbial biofertilizers, like I mentioned earlier, to help in, to improve fertility in soil, to help plants to grow better, to increase their yields. So as a microbiologist, it is either you are developing products for the farmers, or sometimes the plantations need microbiologists to test out these products. So you may need to do trial plot studies and also field studies to look at how well these products can help in controlling the pathogens which are attacking the plantation or the crops. So I hope that whatever that I've presented gives you some rough ideas in the field that we are talking today, microbiology in agriculture. Next slide, please. So therefore, the next part of my talk will be, of course, as students, you're more interested, what is out there? Okay, I'm studying, I'm getting all this knowledge, I'm gaining, so much information. Now, what is out there? The job opportunities. If I'm doing agriculture, agricultural microbiology, what am I going to do after that? My advice, before I go on to the next slides, my advice is don't worry too much. Don't worry too much. You need a strong basis, actually. The basis is microbiology. So if your strength in microbiology is there, be it agriculture, medical, industry, whatever you name it, you can actually mold yourself and get into those kind of jobs. So you need not say that just because I'm studying agriculture microbiology, I need to find a job in agricultural microbiology. What you need is a very strong basis in microbiology. I will explain later, because my background, what I did in my PhD and what I'm doing in my job, it's something that kind of deviated from agricultural. Okay, so next slide, please. So when we talk about job opportunities, I would like to highlight a few that that is important to look at. Of course, research institutes. Research institutes, government research institutes, there are many. I've just highlighted a few. Probably I've missed out a few others. Do your homework. When you are job hunting, do your homework. Understand what they are looking for. So it is very important when you're hunting for job, understand what the employer is looking, not what you are looking, So when you understand what they are looking, then you can actually fit into their bigger picture rather than you tell them, this is all I can do. So always have a bigger picture. Don't be so narrow minded, only this, I'm just doing this, I just am looking for that kind of job. So open up your horizon. So here are some of the research institutes. Of course, FRIM comes first. I'm from FRIM. FRIM looks a lot into forest timber species, forest plantation species, herbal plant species, landscape plant species. So therefore, microbiologists are involved in various, all these plant species, whether it's in pathogen detection or coming up with very quick detection systems, working with the genetic department, or looking at mitigation, how to come up with treatment for the pathogens. Of course, MARDI is another very big research institute which is solely looking at agriculture. They work with food crops, horticulture, industrial crops, livestock, many. So there the need is very high for microbiologists in this field. And we also have research institutes with very focused industry, like the palm oil board or the rubber board, pepper board, cocoa board. So these are a few research institutes that you can actually think of. Next slide, please. So if you're not interested in research-based, very strictly lab-based, then you can go to the industry. Many plantation-based industries. Again, I just highlight a few. There are so many out there, like Sime Darby Plantation, Genting Plantations, Felda, Global Ventures Holdings, United Plantations. So of course, they have, plantations, crops. So therefore, it is very important, pertinent to make sure that, pathogens or mitigation processes or procedures are all in place. So there, yes, sometimes you actually see in the papers when they advertise, they will state microbiologists are needed. So that is another avenue to think of. And there are so many others. Here I just highlighted universities. Probably you want to become lecturers, So then, of course, the path is to go on studying after degree, master's, PhD, and so on. There are also other research institutes which work with, agricultural microbiology, like Malaysian Nuclear Agency, ABI, MGI, and so on. Then you also have other companies, industries, which work with agriculture products related companies, just like I mentioned, to develop products for the farmer. So a microbiology is also needed there. And also companies which provide solutions for agricultural related problems. So these companies also will need microbiologists. We also have private research centers. Private research centers, normally they are connected to industries. So they also have labs, laboratories, and microbiologists do work there as well as livestock related industries and many more others. Next slide, please. So, of course, The next thing that I would like to share with you is career path in research. Why I am choosing research? Me being a research officer, so I'm going to focus research. Of course, probably you have heard of industry. Probably the last two speakers before me would have spoken about microbiology in industry or medical. So here I'm looking at research per se. It could be in agriculture, or even if it is not agriculture per se, but research, basically research in microbiology. Next slide, please. So to start with, let me share my progress, my career progress after BSc. So I did my BSc in UKM back in 92, way before you guys were even born, I think. And but my focus, I knew that when I did my basic degree, I didn't want to find a job immediately. I wanted to continue to do my master's. I was very focused then. So I decided to join as a research assistant in UM. I wanted to look at the field first to get more experience before signing up for a master's. And that is what I did. And I graduated with a master's in 96. Then I told myself, okay, now it's time to go and find a job. Back in those days, I think we are not so lucky as you guys now. You have so much of options. Back in those days, it's either you go into academic or you become a sales rep. Most of my colleagues have ended up in that kind of job. So I chose academic line. So I was working as a lecturer in Sunway. Back in those days, it was Sunway College. And by then, I kind of knew, while working, I kind of knew that I would like to stay on in the academic line. And therefore, I signed up for a PhD back in UM. So my thesis or my project, PhD project, is actually in agricultural microbiology. I worked in biocontrol for plant pathogens. So by 98, when I signed up and I was doing my research lab work, by 2003, I finished my lab work. So now, when I was going into my writing up, so that is the time when I thought, okay, time to go and look for a job to get some money while I'm writing up. So I actually joined as a part-time lecturer back in UITM. In fact, I was teaching in the Faculty of Applied Sciences for some time as a part-time lecturer. And then I got a job. I applied for a job as a research officer in FRIM. And they were at that time looking for someone with a background in microbiology, but not in agriculture, but in natural products. But it was good that when I was doing my PhD in agricultural microbiology, I was working with, biocontrol agent. I was also exposed to some of the microbes which produced certain antibacterial or antifungal agrichemicals. So meaning that I have some experience in natural products from the microbe. So when they offered this position, microbiology and natural products, I thought, okay, this is my calling. And I went for the interview and I got the job. So this is as a permanent position, research officer, grade Q41. So that is how my career started as a research officer in FRIM back in 2004. And it was quite challenging, taking up a permanent position and still writing up my PhD. Probably that lengthened the whole, writing up phase. And I actually finished by 2005 and the graduation was in 2006. But it's okay, I've got a job. I'm very happy because I've got experience teaching, though lecturing was my first choice, that was my first choice in career. So I've got a feel of lecturing. Then now the next passion is research. But having said that, when you are a research officer, you are exposed to students. Many students come into our life because we host practical students in our labs. So the relationship with students, it's a continuous thing for me. And I enjoy students, I enjoy teaching, I enjoy sharing. So that I think for me, this is the ideal job to be a research officer because I get everything what I wanted to do: research, teaching, training, sharing. knowledge and these things. So then, of course, you have to go up. You have to have outputs. So you go up the ladder. You go up the ladder, and 17 years after that, of course, now I'm at the senior research officer position, and hopefully that some of you would find this as your career path as well. Next slide, please. So just a few things. You can actually find this in the website, details about research officer in Jabatan Perkhidmatan Awam JPA. So here I'm explaining pelantikan secara tetap. So when they advertise for research officers, they have both means, whether it's pelantikan secara tetap or pelantikan secara kontrak sambilan. So it depends on what the agency is looking for. So if you are a research officer, then you start with a basic degree. You start with a grade gaji Q41. I've put there Q41, 43. The higher grades sometimes depends. Sometimes you come with experience. There are certain, like some cases where lecturers actually come in. They didn't want to teach. They wanted to do research, so they resign and they come into to the post of research officer. So because of their experience, they are offered a higher grade. Not Q41, it could be a 43 or 47. It all depends on your experience. So the requirements, of course, degree, even if you have a master's, because remember, I came in as a master's, but still I was offered Q41. But although the grade is Q41, there is differences in the tangga gaji. A degree gets a different tangga gaji, a master's will get a higher pay scale, some sort of like that. So if you look at the responsibilities there, I'm sure you understand what research officers do. Basically, we do a lot of R&D research. If you are in microbiology, agricultural, or whatever field of microbiology, then that is what your research focus is. Besides that, you also provide consultation. Now, consultation is for industry. So you're not only doing very academic based work, you are actually having a touch with the industry. You need to know what the industry needs. So if the industry needs certain solutions, and if you can provide the solutions, the research officers will be doing consultation. You can charge a fee. So besides your own gaji, you get a consultation fee. This is all part and parcel of being a research officer. You also provide training. As I mentioned, I train many students who walk into my lab, and that's a good feeling because we want students to be exposed to many different expertise before they actually go and look for jobs out there. And technical service. Certain labs also provide tests, technical services for products. When company has a product, they want to know what is in this product. So these are the microbiologists will conduct certain tests, and we charge companies as well. And also pemindahan technology transfer. We do this. We go to conferences. We present papers. We write papers, pembentangan. We menerbit kertas kerja. So we publish papers all about publication. So if you are interested to work as research officer, remember, it is not just lab-based. It is a lot more than just lab-based. It is a lot more. And you have to be very active in writing, because as a research officer, you need to write. You need to tell people what you are doing, the research outputs that you get. And another thing I want to explain here, under the JPA, as a pegawai tetap, there are also chances, there are opportunities for you to be sponsored under penajaan JPA, untuk to further your studies into masters or PhD. It can be within the country or overseas as well. So that is a good perk, when you are in under the JPA system. Next slide, please. So this is basically, gaji minimum, gaji maximum. You will be interested to know this, okay? The numbers there, Q43 stroke Q44, all the odd numbers, it's as I mentioned, you come in with great gaji odd numbers. The even numbers like 44, that is when you are promoted. From 41, you go to 44. or 48, 52, and finally you go to 54. So this is the scale, the pay scale that actually it has gone up. This is the latest. I think in 2016 the government revised the pay scale. Compared to before this, it was very much less. So this is a good thing that they have revised the pay scale. Next slide, please. Okay. Besides that, not only as research officers, those with diploma, I don't know whether there are some diploma students listening in as well. So I thought I'll throw in a slide to show that with diploma, you can also apply, but not as research officer, but as an assistant research officer. The grades are there. So what you basically do, you're under a senior research officer. You help them in research, conducting the research. You also have the opportunities to present papers, to publish papers. Those things are part and parcel of a research officer, be it assistant or not assistant. You need to do all those things. Next slide, please. Okay, so those are career path. What are the job opportunities? I explained about job opportunities. I explained of career path that you can take. Now, of course, basic skills. I think all of you know the basic skills when you are out there. It's not just, I said basic skills for research officers, but basically it's for any kind of job. You need all these things. Next slide, please. So I've listed out some of the things that came to my mind actually. Of course, if you want to be research officer, you want to be in the research line, you need good scientific knowledge, skills. If you're in the microbiology, as I told you, it doesn't matter in agriculture, medical industry, but the basis of microbiology is very important to understand and mold yourself to what is needed by your employers. So that's why I said the next is the ability to learn and adapt. So you need to adapt in working life. I mean, there is no a straight textbook. I cannot give you a textbook and say, this is what you should follow. There is no textbook when you go into the working life. You need to learn. You need to understand what is needed. You need to adapt. The next one I said, the ability to mobilize existing knowledge to formulate research issues. Yeah, if you're in the research line, you need to come up with research projects as research officer. How do you sustain? How do you go on being a research officer? You need to write proposals. You need to ask for grants. You need to reach out to all kinds of funders out there, whether it's local or international funders. You need to do all these things. You cannot just sit and think that money will come to you for you to do your research. You need to go and get that money. So that is a lot of challenge for research officers to come up with a very good research proposal. So you need to use all your existing knowledge, not just microbiology in agriculture, but a lot more. You need to have, like what I said, you need to have good IT knowledge, bioinformatics. If you're working with microbiology and genomics, so of course the bioinformatics, many different knowledges needed there. The next I said, ability to work in a multidisciplinary environment. So now you can't work in silo. You cannot be the only one working in that project. You need to work with your colleagues. So it can be different people with different expertise, and you tie up and make the project, a bigger project. So that is the ability to work in that kind of environment. And you must have effective communication. You need to have that skill anywhere and everywhere. Now, I also said you need skill to lead. That's very important. You may say, I'm just a Q41. What am I leading? You'll be surprised because you have all the others under you. You have the research assistant. You have the, the lower support staffs. So you need to help. You need to lead in that. I've lost you, Raihana. Are you still there? Okay, yes, you're still there. Okay, and the next is accountability and high integrity. Of course, that's part and parcel of working life. Accountability, integrity. As research officers, you are dealing with research grants, money. You are dealing with assets, equipment. So you need to have all these things. These are a few, but there are many more. As you are learning and you are in that field, you will kind of, know what more to expect. And finally, I think that's my last slide. Next slide, please. And finally, my mantra, if I said that if any student put a question in the chat box, what is needed to succeed in this research, microbiology research career, I would say, yeah, I've given you so many pointers just now, but the very important point here is passion. If you do not have passion in what you are doing, I think a wonderful job may not look wonderful for you, because you will always find the grass is greener out there. You will always be looking at, it's better outside. So passion. A first job may not be your final job, but even if it is a job, before you go to the next one, give your 100% in that, whatever you're using, whatever you're doing. So that is very important. I'm also saying that in microbiology, as I mentioned, there's a lot of work. It's not just lab work, it's a lot of field work. So you need to have love in whatever you're doing. Then I think you will go a long way. I think that's all from me. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. I hope that whatever I shared has kind of, help you, benefits the student. Okay, you must know that I cannot hear you, Raihana, at all. So if there are questions, just put it in the chat box. Is there,
Yeah,
if
sure.
I can look at the questions? Okay, sure. We will take a break.
Right.
Yep.
Thank
All
you.
right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Getha. I hope you all enjoyed a presentation from her. All right, everyone. We will take a break for 5 minutes and we will proceed with the Q&A session after this. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. Before I proceed, Doctor, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Thank
Uh,
God for
that's
that.
good. Yeah,
Wonderful.
that's good.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
that's good.
Raihana.
Sorry, Doctor, for the inconvenience.
No worries. I was more worried whether you could hear me earlier because I'm not really, hearing what you're saying. So it was like a
Oh,
one-way thing. So it's okay. I can hear
yeah, I
you
did
loud
hear
and
you
clear.
before this. That's really nice. Okay, welcome back, everyone. All right, now let's move on to the Q&A session. Dr. Gita will answer some questions that were sent to us through from the chat box. All right, so the first question is from Nor Suraya. I wonder, how do you or other scientists find certain diseases like basal stem rot? Do you visit any farm frequently as your part of your job?
Okay, maybe just to give you a rough idea, as I mentioned earlier, researchers carry out research projects because we put up proposals, we get fundings. So if the uh, industry has a problem, okay, when the industry has a problem, they come to research officer, and in your case, you're asking me about basal stem rot. Now, if there are collaborations between the research officer and the industry, okay, in this case maybe plantations which needs certain kind of solutions, then what normally we do, research officers, FRIM will form collaboration with this industry. So we put up a proposal, we form collaboration, and therefore the research officer works very closely with the industry. So if there is a need, a solution to detect, the pathogens, so therefore yes, the researchers kena turun padang. So it's a lot of field work. You will see many research officers in a month, half of the month they are actually outside because a lot of field work, lots of field work. Of course, samples collected are brought to the lab, and the analysis. Some other team will be doing the analysis. So it depends on which part, where you are. Are you in the lab-based, very lab-based study, looking at the results data, or are you the field research officer? That means you're going out there. So normally we have a team, so you don't work in one person, cannot work one person. It's a big team.
Have to
Everyone
work
have a,
together.
yes,
Yeah.
it's like everyone have a role to play in order to provide the solution that the industry has come to us to seek us in the first place. I hope I understand. I mean, I hope you understand my answer. Yeah.
Yeah. Next, okay, from Nor Suraya again. Do FRIM, especially in research institute, accept student for internship?
Oh yeah, I've had many students from
Yeah.
UIT as well. So it's just that because of COVID, yeah, the last what when did it start? I feel like sometimes we've been in COVID forever. Anyway,
Yeah.
back in 2020, yeah, we had problem because we started having students, and we had to close. The research labs had to be closed, so the students need to leave. We sort of conducted online, or rather gave them some assignments. But if not, it's active lab trainings. We have a lot of lab trainings. Uh, we welcome students. Students normally, I think, through your university, they write to FRIM human resource. So we have
Mhm.
a mechanism where the student, your lecturers, I think, the coordinators of your internship coordinator, write to FRIM human resource, and then the human resource will, advertise such a student with this kind of background, and research officers will normally take. We actually need a lot of hands because these students not only are being trained, they're also being used to help us in a way, because it's a win-win thing. So students learn a lot on the job. So it's a lot of technical experience that they gain during their practical training or internship at FRIM. But I think it's in other research institutes as well. Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Next question. From Farah Adila. A doctor, did our job scope same as agriculture bioindustrial student? This is because they studied the same thing as us. I think maybe from the courses,
Okay.
the difference. Yeah.
As I mentioned, microbiology is just a tool. You must always remember, microbiology is just a tool. Microbiology is applied in different fields. Okay, so when you say I'm a microbiologist, that means you must be able to mold yourself into agriculture industry. So it is a tool which is used by biotechnology, bioindustry, or agriculture, medical, you name it. So if you have a good basic in microbiology, I think you have no problem to move into these various fields which utilizes microbiology.
All right. Okay, the next question. Referring to my previous question, after you had done your research about certain diseases, do you approach the farmers to give the solution for their plantation?
Good question. Solution doesn't come so fast. It's not so easy. When we're talking about, for example, basal stem rot, many researchers in MPOB, they've been working with this. So industry come to research officers with very specific problem, what they need. Do they need the detection? Do they need rapid detection methods to be established? Or they need to know, soil condition. Is their soil suitable? Is the soil healthy? Or maybe they may have certain, as what your question is, I need solutions. I have this problem, I need solution. So it is varied, the various kinds of problems that the industry come to us, so we will tackle as what is needed. So if the question there is solution, we will have to look at what we can provide. For example, in FRIM, we do have a microbial culture collection. So maybe the industry want to know, your culture collection, do you have certain kind of microbes, good microbes, which we can, use it to mitigate the problem, to be used as biocontrol agent, or so on and so forth. So if they come with that questions, then the project, or rather the collaboration is, done such a way to answer or give them that solution. So it is very, many different kinds of problems and solutions. I
Yeah.
hope, I hope you understand that. Yeah.
All right. Next, from Nur Akila Najwa, what is agriculture solutions provider companies do? How they perform their job?
Yeah, basically, when we talk about agriculture, the problems, if it is related to microbiology, I mean, solutions can be in many form. Yeah, if you are a
Mm-hmm.
soil scientist, then you give your expertise in improving soil fertility, looking at the soil structure. Those are the things the soil scientists will do. If you're a chemist, you'll be looking at various other. So solutions for agriculture, what does the agriculture field need? Basically, they need solutions to make sure that their crops, whatever crops that is being grown in their plantations, are healthy, providing proper yield, high yield, maintain the yield, there is no losses. So however you come in, if you're a microbiologist, as what I showed you, some of the examples, products, you come up with products. So these are some of the solutions from the microbiologist's point of view. But as I said, the company will need solutions from various. So sometimes the microbiology will be working with different, a multidisciplinary group, to tackle that problem that they are facing. So companies which provide this expertise will have all these expertise, different expertise, microbiology, a chemist, a soil chemist. So these are companies which can look at, okay, what is your problem? We can provide. So there will be research. There will be a research component as well in the company as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very nice explanation, Doctor. Understandable. The next question is from Iman Fatiha. Good morning, Doctor. Do you recommend us degree student to further our studies to masters or work in the industry first?
Oh wow, that is a very tricky question.
Yeah.
It is actually very personal to the beholder. I shared my experience because From the time when I was doing my basic degree final year project, I knew that was my passion, research. I knew it. I don't know. It differs from students. Some students will think that, okay, enough. I'm done with studying. After degree, I need to go and find a job. So they go on and they don't come back to the academic or come back to research. Then there are also students who go into the industry to gain experience. So you are not a fresh student degree, you go to masters. I was very fresh, so that's why I took a 1 year to do a research assistantship to know what it is all about. Because with the experience from basic degree, I don't think you have much hands-on. Probably you have 1 year of practical, your final year thesis project, you have, but that is not so much. So when you're going into masters, it's very research driven, very intense research. So sometimes you want to take a break, you want to work, get some experience to know what is the industry out there. If the industry, this is what the industry is looking for, then what you do is you look at lecturers in the university, who are working in that field to provide the solution for the industry. So you have already the experience as a matured student, you know what the industry is looking for, and you come back to the university and you do the research. Why you're doing that? So that you increase your marketability. So you're not doing a basic research fundamental master's project, but you're doing a project which actually has the need there out there. So that is one way. So it's either you do a straight from degree to masters, or you come a long way. Age is not the concern here. It's all about your experiences, you're gaining experiences. So that is one example. I hope Iman, I hope I answered your question. There is no direct, it's all depend on you actually, what you need, what you want to do. You want to get experience before you do your further studies, or you just want to go on, finish it as fast as possible, then go out and look for a job. So, so it's not one better than the other. Both has its strength. If you're doing straight from a degree to masters, then the strength there is the momentum, because you're still fresh as a student. So the momentum is fast. You get on with research and studies, and you go on. The momentum is still there. When you go to working life, your things, what your expectation change, and probably some people will have a little bit of problem to adjusting, from working life to coming back to study. So it all depends on the individual, how you are made, how your strength.
That was wonderful. The next question is from Farah Adila. Doctor, as we microbiology students are having ODL session all this time, what is your advice to us since we are lack of skills right now?
So this is because of due to COVID-19.
Yeah, COVID-19. We are staying at the home.
Okay, so what about the final? Now I have to ask questions. What about the final year students? Do they get to go back to the lab to do research?
And yeah, the final one is they are necessarily have to go back and do their lab.
But not the first year, second year, third year. It's all
no.
online. Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
what about? We used to have practical classes, so there is no practical classes now.
No, for now we just continue through the ODL, the online session.
Okay.
By watching videos. Yeah.
That's very challenging. I must be very honest with you. It's very challenging. I actually feel for you, because I do have children. I see them practically stuck to the laptop, and it's all about classes, looking at like what we are doing now. It is very challenging. I pity the students. Nevertheless, I think the lecturers are trying their best to give a very wholesome module, so that you may not have so much of the practical, but you do have the theory. Then I think you have all this knowledge. The knowledge, as I said, the basis must be strong. So this knowledge is already built, even if it is via online classes or whatever not. So it is the norm now. It is the norm. I mean, we cannot
The
run
new
away.
normal. Yeah.
It's a new norm, yeah. It may go on this whole year till next year. We don't know. Probably hoping that next year things will at least, come back to how it was, probably in phases slowly. But since the norm is such, I think all the students must have a little bit change in their mental state, the mind state actually. As I mentioned just now, the basic skills, adapt. You need to adapt. So this is all about adapting to the latest challenges that we are facing, not just here, globally. This is the norm now. So we hope that keep your morals high. I mean, don't feel let down. Students feel sometimes that, what is this? We're just sitting within these four walls and listening to class. There is not much of interaction. But don't worry. Things will change. So your decisions, if you can finish your degree and probably you want to start working or continue with your masters, I mean, those are the things in future. You need to see what things are happening, then. We don't know from now what we are looking. Things look so bleak, oh, I'm just doing online. But it will change, guarantee it will change. Things will go on to become how it was. But what you need to do is make sure that whatever skills, try to get as many skills as you can. There are many webinars, there's a lot of webinars coming about. I'm sure your lecturers will advise you. So try to attend all these webinars, and they give a lot of technical knowledge to build your skills this way. So I think that is the one way to one of my advice. I think that is what you can do right now.
Thank you so much, Doctor. That's really help. The next question is from Faizurin Nisha. Good morning, Doctor. I'm curious on how frequent does a research officer have their field work?
Oh, Faizurin, that question actually I cannot answer. It depends what field you are working, what kind of research you are doing. If you are a research officer who's what you need to do is field work, then most of the time you are outside. Most of the time you will be outside in the forest. Most times we are in the forest. I was doing that when I started as a grade Q41. But I enjoy all those field work because it was very exciting to be out there in the forest collecting samples and all. But as you progress, probably your research scope may change. You may become more lab oriented. So it depends on what kind of projects that you are handling. For a botanist, for example, if I may share, for a botanist, their work basically is like, it's all about going out, because of course they need to go out and look at plants to document plant species, to look at diversity out there. So that means in a month, I would say most of the time they're outside. So that is how the nature of their research is. So for a microbiologist, we have both. We have very lab-based, very lab oriented work, and we have the field work as well. So it depends on what kind of project that you are involved, and so it goes that way. Yeah.
All right, the next question from Nur Suraya. Doctor, if you don't mind to share, how do you manage to keep involved with the research and do?
How do I manage to keep involved? Well, I'm a research officer. I am supposed to do that. Read a lot. Read and
Read a lot.
expose to many things out there. Don't think just what we gain in our undergrad days, what your lecturers teach you, those are enough. Research keep on evolving. The fundamental research is moving into applied research, and there are many technologies that you need to be equipped with. Classical, or the classical microbiology work may not be so much nowadays. There's a lot more technology. So I think you need to keep up, to know what is there, what kind of things. So if you are a research officer, you need to put up a proposal, you need to know a lot, what is there, read a lot, and form a research question, which is, you need to find a solution for this question. So that is your proposal. This is my question. So how do I tackle this question? How do I provide outputs to answer the objective of my project? So in order to do that, you need to know what is out there, what are the problems out there. So you need to read and keep up with the technology. Yeah.
I hope that answers your question, Rosraya.
Yeah, I do hope that answers the
Yeah,
question.
I believe that answers. The next question from Nur Nisa. Hi, doctor. Can you share your experience in your interview session with FRIM?
Okay. Wow, that was back in 2004, if I remember well. I was lucky. I think I was lucky because FRIM at that time, they were expanding biotechnology and applied microbiology, and they were actually looking for a microbiologist in natural product field. And I came with that background. I had that knowledge, technical skills, and so I think it was quite good. The interview went on well, but before I went for the interview, I had to prepare myself. Of course, I need to understand what FRIM is all about, because of course when you are in this, in a when you're studying and all, you don't really know. FRIM, Forest Research Institute Malaysia, they work with forest issues and all, but what exactly the details we will not know. So be prepared. So be prepared. If you're going for an interview, read the company's objectives, vision, mission, the company's profile, what it is involved. Though you are going as a microbiologist, but remember, they are involved in so many other things. So you must be able to know. They can ask you questions from other things, not necessarily agriculture or microbiology. So if you understand the agency or the institute's role, objectives, mission, vision, so you will be able to provide answers, as honest as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right, the next one from Faizuri Nisha. Has there been any errors when doing lab work, and what are the methods used to overcome the problem?
Oh, interesting question. Errors. Now, when you say errors, I would say that research that didn't tak jadi, project yang tak jadi, ataupun the activity tak jadi. You plan the research. Okay, this is what we're going to do. After months and months of carrying out, then you realize, hey, the results is nothing there. I don't get results. So now what happened? So this is where it's very important to note down, if you're doing research lab work, to note down every step of your work. So we have log books, very special log books, and we put down what we do day to day. If you look at my log book, I think I have volumes of log books.
That's a
Yes,
lot.
that's many years of work. You need to put all what you're doing, so that if something goes wrong, you don't get results, you backtrack, you go back and see what went wrong. Then you may realize, okay, maybe this method is not the right method. Maybe I need to modify. Of course, I use a certain reference to do that work. Probably I need to modify. Maybe they work with a kind of microbe which is can grow at very high temperature, but my microbe cannot grow at very high temperature. But because I use that reference, I expose my microbes to a very high temperature. So probably that is why there is no data. The research, the project didn't turn out to what it should be. So you need to put all these things, what you are doing, the research methodology, day to day, everything in a log book, so that you can actually go back and rectify, overcome certain problems, hiccups, and fix it and repeat. So, yeah, that is basically what we do in my lab. Because I'm a head of a research lab, I have a team of junior researchers under me. So the junior researchers will conduct research, and most of the time they'll come to me and say, "Doctor, this is not working." So what we do is we have weekly sessions. We sit and you know. Discuss in a group. Maybe certain methods change, we discuss, and then we go back and do that, and to sort of keep up with what is being done with all the other groups in our, all the other teams under our in our group. So we make sure that we discuss about it and find ways to overcome the problem.
Yeah. The next one, Doctor, what kind of jobs in microbiology in FRIM besides being a researcher?
Microbiology is in research. So as you know, a research institute like FRIM, it's all about research. So if you go in with microbiology, then you are bringing your qualification, microbiology, and to be a research scientist. We call ourselves research scientists. But in FRIM, there is also officers which are non-research officers. So I'm a research officer, so I do research. There are the non-research officers. So probably, for example, even if you have a microbiology, degree, but you don't want to do research, then meaning that you go to FRIM and you become a non-research officer. It may be in different departments which has got nothing to do with research. But then you are competing with all the others who are coming in for the position, whether it is admin, in the admin side, or in the publication side, or in the research management office, So why do they need to take a microbiologist for a non-research position, right? Yeah, so that is
that's
something.
true.
Yeah. So if you are coming in with your qualification as a microbiologist, then they will be looking at you as a researcher, a research officer. They won't look at you as a non-research officer, because there are many more other qualifications that come in for that kind of positions. So if you are not interested in research line, then a research institute may not be your choice. Industry will be your choice, industry that may not involve the lab work part. Probably you will be the technical person who is liaising with the plantation or liaising with the clients. But it's good to have the technical knowledge of microbiology, because you need to know what you want to talk to them about the products, or that kind of thing. So it's back to you as a student, where your interest lies, whether you want to be in the research or non-research.
That's good. The next question from Norina Shahira. Good morning, Doctor. What do you think of pursuing a master's or PhD and having a job in the research field at the same time? I am sure it will be very challenging, but will you recommend doing so?
Okay, good question. When you said that pursuing a master's, PhD while you're still working, well, we have that. We have that people who are matured students who are working, and they come back to do their PhD. Basically, normally they'll come back to do their PhD. It is a very challenging position, because you have the needs, the needs, and you have to fulfill the needs of your employer. And also as student, normally they will be part-time. They do the PhD or masters on a part-time basis. But then if your employer encourages you to do this, to further your study, because probably he needs that from you to have a higher degree, not just a basic degree. Maybe he needs you to have a master's or a PhD. Then the employer may give you a leave, sort of like a short leave from work for you to focus, probably 1 year leave or 2 year leave for you to do the research part. And then like what I did, writing up can be when you are working, you can do the writing up. But when you're doing a lab work, you need that focus. So it all depends on whether the need to do a PhD or a master's is coming from you without the support of your employer or with the support of your employer. So it is easier if your employer is supporting you in that, so that, because there are many lecturers with masters who are in the private universities. They do come back to do their PhD because that's a requirement. So the university will give them some leave, time off from their work. They need not go and lecture students, or maybe very minimal lecturing hours, so that they can do their PhD research in the in any universities. So yeah, basically that's how it is.
All right, the next one. Good morning, doctor. Is there any requirement needed to apply jobs outside Malaysia, or is it the requirement the same as within Malaysia?
Oh, to apply job outside Malaysia.
Maybe working in overseas as
Yeah,
a
working overseas, but it depends. Yeah, if you want to be in the research field, then of course what you will do is you will contact the university to see if they are taking in, maybe you have a PhD or a master's, so you will write in to see whether the researchers they are looking for. Maybe they have a grant. Basically it works this way. If the researchers out there overseas, they have a grant, research grant, and they are looking for students, or a research assistant to help out in that project. So you can actually, if you have some information that so and so is looking for a research assistant, you can write in. And of course, your basic degree counts. What is your degree? If it's microbiology or a master's in applied microbiology. So if the researcher is happy with what you have, the qualifications, then it involves whether you go in as to sign up as a PhD under him or her in the university, and work as a research assistant under them. So that is one way lah, going overseas to do research, to take up research position as a research assistant or research fellow. Yeah, so it is application to know what they need,
the
if
requirements.
their requirements. Yeah.
True. Next question from Anis Halim. Hi, doctor. May I know what or who influenced you to take this course? Thank you. That was a very light one.
Yeah, that's a light one. Okay, back in those days from UKM, I did my basic degree in UKM. We had many. We do our first year as a we call that life sciences. We study everything, and then second year, third year we major into a field. So first, second, there is no major. Only third year we major into a field. So we are given an option: biochemistry, botany, zoology, microbiology. Various fields. Well, I would very frankly say I chose microbiology because I kind of enjoyed lecturers who gave me, who lectured me in microbiology. Many lecturers back then in UKM who are so experienced in that field, and they used to, especially microbes and men, that subject, microbes and men, and the fundamentals, how diseases caused by microbes and how microbes produce antibiotics. All these are so interesting to me. So I think when I heard, or rather I was in these lectures in first year, second year, that built my interest to, to follow and to be in this course, microbiology course. So third year came and I applied and I got to major in microbiology, and not turning back. And I think after many years, I'm still a very true microbiologist at heart. Yeah.
Thank you, Anis, for the question. Next one from Farah Adillah. Doctor, if you don't mind to share, is it true that the research officer need to always come up with the new research idea?
New research idea. I would say come up with research idea. That is the key word. Research ideas. New can be new in many ways. It's not something rocket science, something out of no. Research ideas must be there. Research ideas can't be just for nothing. These ideas must have an objective. What are you tackling? What problem you're tackling? Whether it's in health or for industry or for agriculture, for various solutions. So the research idea can be a small idea, a very small idea, but it must be something that is for impact. Yeah, so it needs to be, you need to justify, because you need to justify to the funders. You need to present it to the funders, funding agency, maybe MOSTI or Ministry of Higher Education. They're giving you money, so they want to know, what is your research going to do for the country? So you cannot just say, okay, I'm just playing with it, like, I'm just trying it out. No, you need to have some objective and the outputs to answer that objective, and there must be some outcome from whatever that you have achieved, the outcome for the benefit of the country. So whether it's new or modified, so sometimes people have done that research, you need to improvise,
Improvise. Yeah.
improvise, because they would have done 5 years back. So now after 5 years, there are many more technologies which can improve the outcomes of what he or she did. So that is how we built our research ideas. Yeah.
I see. Moving on to the very last question for the Q&A session from Rahman. What's the ethical of working with microbes and how far can we go in the name of advancement?
Ethics. Wow, that's a very good question. Ethics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Biosafety. I'm sure you've heard about all these things. Biosafety. Ethics of working with pathogens. So you, in the first place, you must know what kind of microbes that you're handling. If you're working in medical, yeah, they have work ethics, because they're handling with highly pathogenic microbes, which can cause diseases. So in that way, there are various procedures, yeah, where they need to follow through in order to protect themselves as well as protect others. Biosafety, yes, that is in all labs. For example, when I'm working with certain kind of microbes, we work in labs with biosafety level 2. So that means minimize people who enter into the lab. Only those with the permission to enter can enter into the lab to open the incubators or to handle the microbes, because you do not let everyone to enter that microbe. It's controlled. And then there are labs which, yeah, the research assistants can enter, or the support staffs can enter as well. So it depends on what you are working with. It needs some kind of security, where you are, what kind of microbes you're handling and things like that. And I think what you also mean is like, how far can you go? Yeah, I think that is the question. How far you can go? It all depends on where or what you are doing, whether you are in the research field or non-research. If you are in the industry, yes, you can go far. The money probably is bigger, higher than government servants. But then, of course, mind you, the JPA has a revised pay scale for research officers. I think we're getting better
Oh,
pay nowadays. Yeah, what I showed you is much better than back in those days. Advancement, again, it depends on monetary advancement or
I
professional.
think, yeah, professional maybe.
Professional. So if
Yeah.
you are in research field, yeah, you are improve, like what, for example, what I started with Q41 basic, and you advance. Of course, it's a lot of hard work. You need to prove. You need there is a lot of KPIs, every year you are evaluated. So you need to fulfill many KPIs in order to be eligible for promotion. It means a lot of projects, funding. You need to write a lot, publish a lot. Yeah, these are the things that it helps in your advancement, in this field. If you are the type who thinks that it's okay, I'll take it slow, then your progress is slow. You'll be in Q41 for a long time. So there are time period. Okay, within 3 years or 4 years, you can apply for a Q44. But what you need to achieve within that 4 years or 3 years in order to be eligible to apply for Q44. So when you start a job, I would advise you to be smart, to know what is needed in order for you to advance. So you must be aware about all these things, the needs, what you need to achieve, the time frame that you need to achieve all these things. So you move, you advance faster. Yeah.
I see. Yeah, it's all about the progress, doctor.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's true. Okay, I think that's the end of our Q&A session. Thank you again, Dr. Getha, for answering all the questions and for the great presentation. It was a pleasure to have you with us today. I hope that all participants get all the inputs that had explained by Dr. Getha. Okay, moving on now. I would like to ask Doctor, can we take a photo together as a memory?
Yeah, sure. Sure,
All
it's good.
right. So, okay, ready on the count. One, two, three, snap. One more time. On the count, one, two, three, snap. All right. Thank you again, Dr. Getha.
Thank you very much.
All right. Attention to all participants. I would like to remind you again to claim your e-certificate by filling out the attendee form. It can be obtained by scanning the QR code here or using the link that is given by our committees in the chat box. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up our 3-session webinar. I hope all the things that we had discussed from the last week and just now will be beneficial to us, especially the students that will graduate soon. Thank you for joining us and have a good day.